Hey, how's it going, family? Excited to be with you all today here in this month's edition of Becoming Healthy Leaders. You know, each and every month we push out this content, we send out and create these videos for two reasons. One, we want to develop healthy leaders who build healthy teams. That's the second point. We want to develop you all. We want to add value to you. We want you to know that we, of course, appreciate everything you do, but we want you to feel like as much value as you're adding to this church and this community, the value is being added back to you, and so that you can go and add value to others in the teams that you help lead and you serve and are a part of. And this month, in light of spring and the seasons changing and shifting, we wanted to talk to you this month about embracing change. So buckle up, get ready, because the conversation throughout this month is going to be a fun one. So in our conversation today, the number one way, the first step, the first action you and I can take in embracing change is to embrace change. We want to be looking for it. We want to be anticipating it. We want to be preparing for change, because what we all know is that change is inevitable. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon, one of the wisest men to ever walk the face of this earth, said that there is a time and a season for everything under the sun. Change is going to happen. We cannot escape it. So the people of God, those of us who are becoming healthy leaders, we are here to embrace the change. Isaiah 43 verse 18 through 19 says this: "Do not call to mind the former things, or consider things of the past. Behold, I am going to do something new." Come on, repeat that after me right now. Something new. That's right. God desires to do something new. And he says this: "Now it will spring up. Will you not be aware of it? Will you not perceive it? Are you not anticipating the new thing that I'm going to do? I will even make a roadway in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." One of the values that we have here at church is honor yesterday and inspire tomorrow. It's because we want to celebrate, we want to champion everything that's been done and brought us to the place in which we currently stand. But it's also with the understanding that we're using what has been done to propel us into what has not been done yet. We are looking and anticipating for change. Pastor Tony and us having a conversation about this said something so amazing the other day. He said, "Hamilton, spring is a perpetual reminder of new beginnings." This time of year, the cold is shifting out. Things are beginning to bud. The grass is starting to green up. This is actually the time of year that we begin to sow seed in terms of agriculture and grass seed. This is when things begin to grow and begin to bud. And so this is a perpetual reminder, one, that God is about change, but even more importantly than that, God is in the midst of the change. So us being people of God, we're here to embrace change. Now, the second step in us embracing change, we've already talked about. Step one is to embrace the inevitability of change. But in order for us to embrace that change, the second step is that we have to remain planted. Now, understand, we're talking about how change, it's inevitable. Seasons come, seasons go. There are ebbs and flows, consistent variables to this life that you and I are living. But in the midst of that change, you and I are actually called to be steadfast and remain. I'm even reminded of John chapter 15, when Jesus is the one quoted in saying, "I am the vine and you are the branches. Remain in me, for apart from me, you can do nothing." So in the midst of all of the change, right, there's this understanding that there are things within us that are actually unchanging, like our fruit. We're talking about character. We're talking about spiritual disciplines, the consistency of our prayer life. We're getting into that secret place, the consistency of us getting into His Word and allowing that to be the thing which we meditate on day and night, as it says in Psalm chapter 1. We're talking about spending time in His presence, staying plugged in the local church, even in the midst of transition and change. We are called to remain planted. So in order to embrace change, Today in this season, we've got to remain planted. The third step in order for you and I to embrace change is that we actually have the honor, the privilege, the great opportunity to experience fruitfulness. In the midst of change, in the midst of all that is inevitably going to happen, shift, again, all the ebbs and flows of life, and us remaining planted in those seasons of change, you and I have the privilege and the opportunity to experience fruitfulness. Psalm chapter 1, verse 3, it says this: "He will be like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit," I love this, church, "in its season." There's no striving in this conversation, in this example of this man who's remaining planted, meditating on the word of God. He's planted by streams of water. There's no exhaustion. There's no, I've got to grit my teeth and I've got to bear fruit. It's easy. It's just a byproduct. It's a fruit of him being planted in the midst of change. And it goes on and it says this: "And its leaf does not wither." If anyone needs to be encouraged today, and in whatever he does, he prospers. Whatever he puts his hand to, the hand of God goes with him. He has his favor, his hand, his protection, his guidance, his provision on his life, those that stay planted. So this is what I want to challenge us with as we kind of begin to land this plane and conclude. Jesus was the one who said, "You will know them by their fruit." How is your fruit, church? What does your fruit look like in the midst of this new season, right? We're leaving winter. We're getting ready to step into spring. We've left 2024 and we are actively walking in a new year, 2025. There's been transitions even in midst of our church and maybe even some of your volunteer teams. All the while, are we remaining planted and getting ready, preparing, anticipating to experience fruit in this season? Not just next year and not just that time that we experienced fruit last year, but right now. God is going to do a new thing. Will you not perceive it? Will you not be aware of it? And in line with you and I being prepared, getting ready to experience fruit, something that we have experienced fruit in has been our mobile food pantry. It happens every second Thursday of the month. And if we had not been prepared to adapt, to shift, to adjust, and take hold, embrace the change that was inevitable and that needed to happen for the people of our community, we would not have been able to experience the fruit that we have. Being able to feed well over 300 families every month, giving away well over 20,000 pounds of food in the year 2024 alone. It has been such a fruitful thing for our community and even inside the four walls of this church. So we have to prepare ourselves to embrace change. Now, we've so much enjoyed this conversation with y'all throughout this week and throughout this month, and enjoyed the conversation around embracing change. And remember, just real quick recap, the 3 steps to embracing change. 1, it's easy to remember because it is the title of the month as well. We embrace change. The second thing is that we remain planted. And the third thing is that you and I prepare to experience fruit. We thank you again so much for all that you do week in and week out. Free Chapel would not be who we are if it weren't for people like you. We hope this has added value to you today, and we look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday.